Committee meeting to order, please. We don't have a quorum, but they'll find their way in. Ms. Taylor is excused for this afternoon also. So it brings us, we're back in the open session. Can we please have a roll call again, please?
Rob Fechner.
Good afternoon.
Orena Ortega.
Here.
Margaret Brown.
Here.
Lisa Middleton.
Present.
Stacy Oliveris. And Shonda Wesley.
Say present.
Oh.
Say present.
And Shonda Wesley. Present.
Very good. Thank you. Brings us to agenda item 4, the approval of the February 18th Perf and Comp Committee timed agenda. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Move approval.
Moved by Brown. Seconded by Ortega. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, say, all opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 5, executive report. Mr. Hoffner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to congratulate both you and the Vice Chair for the election earlier today. I also want to welcome Ms. Wesley to the committee as well. It's a pleasure to meet you. We have 2 items today before the committee, both action items. One is the approval of the CEO's semi-annual report, and the second is the review and approval of the delegation of the committee. In addition, I want to provide a quick update to the request for proposal for the board's executive incentive comp consultant. The committee took action on that in September, and we're in the process of having the RFP go out the door in early March, and we'll come back as the subcommittee meets to evaluate those proposals in later this year. I'd also like to highlight the fact that since we were last year together, we have filled the chief human resource division chief role here at CalPERS. So I want to announce that Michelle Tucker will be the new HR chief. She's not with us today. She starts on March 2nd. And with that, I'd also like to thank Renee Salazar, who's been the interim HR chief. She's done a fantastic job, and she will carry us through the rest of this committee today. But I do appreciate her leadership in that role for the last few months. So with that, that will conclude my opening remarks, and we'll move on to the action items.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Salazar. Brings us to agenda item 6, action consent calendar, approval of the performance compensation meeting minutes. What's the pleasure of the committee? Somebody has to move it.
I wasn't on the committee. I'll move it.
Moved by Ms. Middleton, seconded by Ms. Oliveris. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. What was that?
Abstain.
Show Ms. Brown is abstaining. And just for clarification, the reason why there was a little bit of hesitation up here, some of these members weren't on the committee when we had the last meeting, so they didn't feel they could make motions or vote. So that's why it was a little cumbersome. It won't be that way next month. Moving on to item 7, information consent items. Item 7A, annual calendar review. Mr. Hoffner.
Nothing to report on the annual calendar.
All right. Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that let the rest of the committee know that I sent an email to Doug Hoffner with the new calendar saying, could I take a look at the last year's calendar and the calendar before, since we've changed the number of meetings. I just wanted to make sure all the items were covered, and you forwarded that, and it was very helpful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Seeing nothing, no requests on the draft agenda for April 20th. Moving on to item 8, action agenda items. 8A, the semi-annual status report of the incentive plan of the CEO. Ms. Salazar.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Renee Salazar, CalPERS team member. As discussed earlier in closed session, the executive compensation policy requires the CEO to prepare a semi-annual status report on their incentive plan for the Performance, Compensation, and Talent Management Committee's review and approval. The proposed report is to inform the committee on progress toward achieving the plan's measures. Presented in attachment 1 is the CEO's semi-annual status report, which covers the time period of July 1st through December 31st, 2019. Thank you. That concludes my report, although Ms. Frost is here in case you have questions about the report.
Very good. Thank you. Any requests or questions from the committee? Seeing none, we must have answered them all earlier, so thank you. Brings us to agenda item 8B, the review of the committee delegation. Ms. Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Again, Renee Salazar, CalPERS team member. The delegation resolution for the Performance, Compensation, and Talent Management Committee is reviewed on an annual basis. Team members have reviewed the committee delegation and recommend revisions to simplify the language and formatting in alignment with other committee delegations. If the committee wishes to make additional revisions to the delegation resolution, they will be incorporated and brought back for board consideration for approval in April 2020. That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones just pointed out those were both action items, even though there were no questions. So we're back to item 8A. What's the pleasure of the committee? Moved by Ortega,
Second.
seconded by Brown. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. 8B, you just heard the committee delegation. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Move approval.
Moved by Brown, seconded by Ortega. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Salazar. Brings us to agenda item 9, summary of committee direction. Mr. Hoffner.
I didn't hear any.
I didn't hear any either. That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Item 9B, public comment. I have no requests from the public. Is there anyone out there that wishes to address the committee at this time? Mr. Johnson shaking his head no. That's a good sign, too. I'll tell you. Thank you, Neil. All right. Seeing no public comment, this committee is adjourned. Risk and audit will start at, 1:25? Where's the chair? 1:25. Thank you.